What's up everyone, welcome back to more Reddit stories about Karens, crazy people, and all that kind of stuff. Hope you're all doing awesome today. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet for more Reddit content, and let's get into today's stories. Joyriding mechanic. So my mom is a bit over middle-aged and has a corporate job. And due to seeing so many clients, she has a habit of trading in for a specific luxury car that costs $200K plus. She does it like clockwork every 3 years. Her job pretty much pays for it as part of her compensation package, but it is legally hers. She always gets cream-colored leather seats with light seatbelts. This comes in later. Not saying model or brand because, well, considering the aftermath, there is no need to mention it. This car has an app available that gives you your driving details and GPS maps of previous trips, with details such as average speed and peak speed. She uses it. She recently got a new version of this car and had to take it in for a firmware update due to some glitch. So she drove up to the dealership right after work and they agreed she can pick it up at noon the next day. In the morning, she goes in her app for her car out of habit, and she sees a new driving GPS map. The car did in the evening a 35-mile ride at the highway peaking at 100 miles per hour, starting and ending at the dealership. She obviously was a bit confused, but figured they needed to test something. She really did not care at that point and was not going to mention it to the dealership. She goes to pick the car up at noon during her lunch break eventually, and when they deliver it to her, she notices immediately that the cream-colored seatbelt has dark oil stains. She starts looking and notices the seats have smudges that someone attempted to wipe off, with the under of the seat having large stains. She asks the mechanic who came to the counter to give the keys why her seatbelts are smudged. He basically tells her that no one but him has touched the car and those must have been there already. He has had the keys the whole time after all. Not suspicious at all and totally how these things normally work. No one has put the seatbelts on, so it could not have been them. The conversation proceeds to where the guy gets defensive and tells her to F off, basically, and talk to his manager if she has an issue. So my mom asks to speak to the manager. The manager shows up and the situation is explained, but this time she adds to it. Okay, just clarifying, since my app tells me someone drove 35 miles last night with my car on the highway at 100 miles per hour, and both of you are telling me that this was done without seatbelts, sounds pretty dangerous. The mechanic's face goes white, and the manager goes red. He asks to see the app, and he takes one look at it and then at the mechanic in disbelief. He immediately starts profusely apologizing and says the service is free, and that they will get a detailer ASAP to come take care of the situation, and they will immediately order her a replacement seatbelt if it is needed. Blah blah boring part. Basically, they just go over what they need to do to make it right privately in the manager's office. The manager had immediately realized upon seeing the app that the mechanic likes to joyride high-end cars. Later that evening, she receives an apology email from the regional manager profusely apologizing. Of course not admitting to them joyriding or damaging anything, but basically telling her the mechanic was fired for repeated misconduct and breaking company policies. All in all, sharing because what a stupid reason to lose your job for. Getting my coworker fired after she kept trying to prove my service dog is fake. I have a medical alert service dog named Max, who helps with a serious heart condition. He's literally saved my life multiple times by alerting before I pass out. I started a new office job 3 months ago, and everything was fine until let's call her Karen started her crusade against Max. It started small. She'd loudly announce, "Pets aren't allowed in the office," every time she saw us. I explained repeatedly that Max is a service dog, not a pet, and showed her his documentation. She then started telling everyone I was obviously faking because I look too young to be disabled. Things escalated fast. She'd try to test Max by dropping food near him. He's trained to ignore it. She reported me to HR weekly. But the worst part? She started purposely wearing strong perfume and spraying air freshener around my desk, which triggers my condition. Max alerted me 3 times in one day because of this. The final straw? I found out she was taking photos of me and Max and posting them in a Facebook group about fake service dogs, asking for ways to expose me. She included my full name and workplace. I took screenshots and went to HR. They fired her on the spot for harassment and creating a hostile work environment. Now my inbox is flooded with messages from her friends and family saying I'm a jerk for getting a mother of 3 fired over a dog, and that I should have just worked from home if I'm so sick. Here's the thing, I actually feel horrible that she lost her job. Her kids aren't at fault here, but she literally put my life at risk with the perfume stunts, and doxing me online was scary. Well, here's the thing, OP. You didn't get her fired. She got herself fired. It'd probably be for your own good to think of it that way if you do feel bad. She was clearly harassing you, doing things that she seemed to have known would trigger your condition, so putting you in danger, and doxed you. All you did was let HR know what was going on, as is your right to do. What they decided to do with that info is up to them. So no, you didn't get her fired, she got herself fired. Someone having kids to feed cannot be used as a blanket excuse for someone to get away with just being a terrible person. Grown man refuses to use common sense when I tell him to not eat something because it will kill him. This happened a while ago, so bear with me. When I was in my 30s, I was growing exotic medicinal plants, medieval old world medicines merely for their looks. Belladonna and aconite are gorgeous as well, if you were wondering why, to keep some of the truly rare things around. Not for consumption, for propagation purposes only. My husband at the time was being an immature little boy for most of the day, which was par for the course with him. We are talking overgrown toddler here. So I was trying to get some time away from him and ignoring the behavior. I was cracking dried Atropa belladonna berries over a window screen and rubbing the seeds through to clean them for storage, so I could hopefully trade them with other collectors. I had a bowl of dried cranberries sitting up above my work surface on a shelf that I would snack on from time to time while I was working. This idiot decides to come into the room and start doing the 3-year-old million questions routine, and saw me chewing, and proceeds to reach into the bowl of belladonna berries I had next to me and tried to eat a couple. I took them out of his hand and straight up yelled at him not to eat them because they will kill him. Kicked him out of the room and told him to go harass someone else because you think it's funny. I'm not putting up with it today. He does so, then proceeds to come back in the room something like 3 minutes later. Again sees me chewing. Again reaches into the bowl of unprocessed dried belladonna and actually ate a handful. I told him, "It's okay, go ahead. I'm not helping you when you start writhing and foaming on the floor though." He was like, "You're just being greedy," and other things in that vein. "What do you mean? You were eating them," he said. When I had told him previous to this, not 3 minutes before, "They're craisins, dude. There's a 5-pound bag of them on the kitchen table. I have mine on the shelf up here." I told him to use his 5 senses while he still had them, and go ask our neighbor at the time, who was a retired nurse, what belladonna, atropine, will do to the human body. Well, he came back, panicking, and was saying call 911, take me to the hospital, etc. When I didn't immediately jump into the car with him, he went and stuck his finger down his throat and got rid of them. He was fine and showed no symptoms before anyone comes for me. The thing is, I had to tell him way more than twice. Don't eat that. Leave stuff alone if you don't know what is in here. In the space of 2 minutes while he was in the room with me. If he had in any way acted sick, I would have most certainly called 911, had he not puked them back up almost immediately. Well, he proceeded to tell every one of my friends, our family, the whole 9 yards, that I didn't tell him they were poisonous and let him eat them anyway. Boyfriend blames his cheating on him suddenly becoming gay due to the altitude difference when he was on a work trip in Utah. I can hardly believe that I am writing this or that it happened, but I am, and it did, so here we go. I, 28 female, have been with my boyfriend, 29, for 3 years. Every now and then he has to go to Utah for a few days because his team has a customer service branch that operates out there. I got a text from one of his coworkers who has become a friend of ours, and it said that on the trip my boyfriend cheated on me with some guy on the customer care team. I did not believe it at first, because first of all, my boyfriend has always identified as straight, and second of all, I just couldn't believe it. When he got home, I asked him about it, basically expected him to confirm it was nonsense. Instead, he got real quiet and had us sit down and said he had to tell me something. He said it was true. He did have a one-night stand with the guy. I couldn't believe it. I asked him if he was telling me he was gay or bisexual, and regardless, cheating is cheating. He insisted he was not gay at all, but, quote, the strangest thing happened. He said that when he was at dinner with his Utah coworkers, he suddenly became gay. I was like, what? What the f***? He said he thinks it was due to the altitude. I was like, you're f***ing with me, right? But he said after he had done it with this guy, he got really confused as to how all of a sudden he was gay. He said that higher altitudes can have an impact on how people think and on their emotions, and he thinks that the high altitude made him gay, temporarily. He said that as soon as he landed back home, he was back to being straight. I was like, did he get drugged or something? But he said that was not possible. They were always in a group at dinner, which is when he became gay, and was only alone with the guy afterwards. He said he had done a lot of thinking on the drive back from the airport, and he confirmed within himself that he is straight, and that his only conclusion could be that he was temporarily turned gay due to the altitude. I was like, whatever, I guess we are breaking up. He looked at me confused. I was like, gay or not, you did cheat on me. He said it wasn't his fault, and that human actions are just a byproduct of accidental brain chemistry, and that his chemistry had been altered through no fault of his own due to the higher altitudes of Utah. He said he couldn't believe I would blame him for something medical and scientific that was out of his control. He seemed bewildered that I was angry about this. Okay, so OP, if you're actually telling the truth about this whole situation and not making it up, then your boyfriend is definitely in denial about his own sexuality. So if he's actually telling you something this dumb, then there's no way he actually believes it himself, right? Surely this has got to be just a panicked and last-ditch effort to try to explain to you why this happened, instead of just admitting to you that he's into men. Since you did confront him about it when he got home, so maybe he was put on the spot and this is just what he came up with in the moment. I mean, he's obviously trying to fool you, that much is clear, but it's also possible he's trying to fool himself as well. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like and hit that subscribe button as well for more Reddit stories. So I'm out of here, take care, and I'll see you next time.